In 2012, a man had $34 billion. 16 months later, he had less than zero. Not lost most of it, not downsized, negative net worth. He owed more than he owned, and nothing illegal happened. No one stole from him. No court seized his assets. The money simply stopped existing. His name was Ike Batista. At his peak, he was the 7th richest man on the planet, richer than the founders of Google, richer than most entire countries. And what happened to him exposes something almost nobody understands about billionaires. They are almost never actually holding the money. Let's start with a question that sounds stupid until you actually try to answer it. If you're worth $10 billion, where is the $10 billion? It's not in a vault. It's not in a bank account. For almost every billionaire on Earth, net worth is a number calculated by multiplying the shares they own by whatever price the stock market says those shares are worth today. That's it. That's the whole number, which means a billionaire's fortune isn't a possession. It's an opinion. A price the market agreed on this morning and might disagree with by tomorrow afternoon. So how does someone with $10 billion in stock actually buy a mansion, a jet, a yacht? Here's the part that changes everything. They don't sell the stock. Selling triggers capital gains tax, sometimes as high as 37%. Instead, they walk into a bank and use the stock as collateral, and the bank lends them cash against it. This is called a securities-backed line of credit. And here's the detail that should stop you cold. Borrowed money is not classified as income. It is not taxed. A person can be worth $10 billion on paper, borrow $50 million in real spendable cash every year, live like a king, and legally pay close to nothing in income tax. Financial analysts have a name for the entire strategy. Buy, borrow, die. You buy assets that grow. You borrow against them instead of selling. And when you die, U.S. tax law resets the cost basis of those assets to their current value, meaning your heirs can sell them off to pay the loans with almost no tax bill at all. It sounds like a cheat code. For a while it is. And banks love giving out these loans because the math works beautifully for everyone involved, right up until it doesn't. A diversified stock portfolio can typically be borrowed against up to 85% of its value. A single concentrated stock, the kind founders and CEOs usually hold in their own companies, gets a much harsher haircut because the bank knows exactly how dangerous that concentration is. But here's what nobody tells you about this system. It only works while the stock price cooperates. Banks track the value of the collateral every single day. If the stock falls far enough, the loan-to-value ratio breaks a threshold, and the bank issues what's called a margin call. The borrower gets 2 to 5 days to deposit more cash or more assets. If they can't, the bank doesn't ask permission. It sells the stock itself, immediately, on the open market, to get its money back. This is where it gets violent. When you try to sell billions of dollars of stock all at once, there aren't enough buyers waiting at the top price. Each block of shares sells a little cheaper than the last. The stock price craters as it's being sold, which shrinks the collateral, which triggers more selling, which craters the price further. Wall Street calls this a liquidation cascade. It can turn a $10 billion stake into a $2 billion stake in a single trading session. It has nothing to do with the company's real business, its factories, its customers, its revenue. It's purely a mechanical panic, one sale forcing the next sale, faster than anyone can stop it. This is exactly what happened to Ike Batista. He was a Brazilian entrepreneur who built his empire on OGX, an oil company that promised to make Brazil the next energy superpower. Investors believed him. The stock soared, and so did his paper fortune, all the way to $34 billion. Then the company missed its production targets. Not by a little. The oil simply wasn't there in the quantities he had promised. The stock cracked. Margin calls hit. He was forced to dump shares into a falling market, which made the shares fall faster, which triggered more margin calls. $34 billion became negative net worth in 16 months. Not because he spent it, because it was never actually money to begin with. It was a story the market told about him, and then the market changed its mind. But market crashes aren't even the scariest way this illusion collapses. There's something worse, something that doesn't care about your stock price at all. In 2022, a man named Michael Fridman woke up worth roughly $10 billion. By that afternoon, his credit cards didn't work. His bank accounts were frozen. His private jets were grounded. He owned $10 billion and could not legally spend a single pound of it because Western governments had sanctioned him. Stranded in his own London mansion, Fridman had to formally petition the UK government for permission to access his own money. He was granted an allowance. £2,500 a month, around $3,300. A man worth $10 billion, filing paperwork to justify paying a cleaning lady. His business partner, Peter Avon, fought for a larger allowance in court and won £600,000 a year. His lawyers argued this was barely enough, because his household alone burned through £140,000 a month. Two men worth a combined fortune in the billions, arguing in a courtroom over grocery money. Their wealth hadn't shrunk, not on paper. It had simply been switched off, because ultra-wealth doesn't actually belong to you the way $100 in your wallet belongs to you. It exists only as long as the banking system, the stock exchange, and the government agree to let it move. To untangle the mess, Fridman and Avon had to sell their entire 45% stake in a major Russian bank for $2.5 billion to a business partner who hadn't been sanctioned, just to unlock enough liquidity to survive. $10 billion on paper, and it still took a multi-billion-dollar fire sale just to pay for groceries and lawyers. And if any one of those three says no, the number on paper becomes meaningless. China proved this in the most brutal way possible. Hui Ka Yan built Evergrande, once the 122nd largest company on Earth, by borrowing an almost unimaginable amount of money to build apartment towers across China. He personally pulled over $5 billion out of the company in dividends over 10 years, while the company itself sat on more debt than most countries carry. Then in 2020, Chinese regulators introduced a policy called the Three Red Lines, three strict debt ratios every major property company had to meet. Evergrande failed all three. The company that owed over $300 billion began to collapse, and the government did something almost no Western regulator would dare to do. It didn't just go after the company, it went after him. Officials directed Hui to personally sell off his private mansions, his yacht, his art collection, and a chunk of his own shares, funneling over $1 billion of his personal fortune straight back into the company to keep unfinished apartment towers from being abandoned. At one point, he was forced to hand over 11% of his own stock, funneling $343 million directly into construction accounts, just to keep buildings from sitting empty and unfinished. A billionaire, ordered by his own government to liquidate his personal life to cover his company's debts. He built an empire on borrowed money, and when the debt came due, the state made sure it wasn't the ordinary home buyers who paid for it. It was him. Three men, three completely different reasons: a stock market crash, a geopolitical sanction, a government debt policy. And in every single case, the result was identical. The number vanished, or got locked away, or got clawed back, and the billionaire was left standing there with almost no usable cash at all. So back to the original question: are billionaires actually rich? Here's the uncomfortable answer. In the way you and I understand rich, meaning money you can touch, spend, and control without asking anyone's permission, most of them aren't. Not really. What they have is bigger than rich, and also far more fragile than rich. They have access. Access to credit, access to markets, access to legal systems that let paper value function like cash, right up until the moment it doesn't. You have $100 in your pocket. It is completely, unconditionally yours. No bank can freeze it. No market crash can erase it. No government policy can order you to sell it. A billionaire has $10 billion that belongs to them only as long as the stock price holds. The bank stays confident, and the government stays friendly. Your $100 will never make headlines. Nobody will ever write an article about your net worth. No bank will ever call you asking for it back. But it might be the only kind of rich that's actually real. Everything above it, the yachts, the jets, the 11-figure headlines, is just a number the world has agreed to believe in, for now, until the day it stops agreeing.